Hey guys, it is August 12th today. It's Tuesday or Wednesday. And quick topic here, and that is MGTOW in Estonia. Many people here may be familiar with this term MGTOW. It's an abbreviation that stands for men going their own way. There's been a lot of misunderstanding about this movement and where it's come from. I think it became more mainstream around maybe 2 years ago, and ever since, I mean, there's been a larger and larger movement of men pursuing this direction. Is most profoundly seen in places like US and Canada, but it's also spreading to countries like England, Australia, and Western Europe, and of course East Asia. It's very interesting because I live here in Estonia, and Estonia has many very positive elements to it, but one area that really lacks, especially for foreign men, is the dating. It's very difficult here to find decent quality partner if you're a guy. This is just the reality. I've heard 20 years ago it was completely different here. This just kind of showcases how countries change and how they move. Over time, many places change, and that is definitely seen here in Estonia. And just keep in mind here, Estonia borders countries like Finland and Russia, Latvia. Russia is remarkably great place for dating and for even finding a spouse for marriage. And so it just kind of demonstrates how even a country that's 90 or 120 kilometers away can be so different when you're somewhere. What I see though here, especially among foreign men, is MGTOW, is this mindset of men going their own way. I don't think though here many men are aware of this. Many foreign men here don't even understand this concept, but I think this is what they're subconsciously following. What most MGTOW people agree upon is that what it boils down to is men pursuing their own interest over women, and often that entails not being married. In more extreme cases, avoiding as much contact as possible with women. This is the more extreme version of MGTOW. There's many varieties in between. There's guys in the middle that still have short-term relationships. They simply don't pursue LTRs or long-term relationships, and there's other guys that as I stated, they have very minimal contact. And now and then there are ones that do have longer-term unofficial relationships, but this is not common because this isn't really the mantra of MGTOW. Also understand that this includes guys from all political spectrums, all religious backgrounds, all kinds of men in between. This is just a growing movement. Here in Estonia, it's important to understand that the dating for foreign men is very different in the obstacles that they face than the dating scene for domestic men, for Estonian men. Now, it's not to say that the dating scene for Estonian men has drastically became more difficult in the past 10 years, because this is definitely the case, but it still is different than the dating scene for foreign men. As stated before, is that it's becoming exceptionally Western, the system here with dating, and even something a little different though. A lot of it is simply a disinterest in foreign guys. I've made a previous video about this topic, and a lot of it is just this. It's not necessarily, it's not girls or women not liking guys. It's just simply disinterest. They don't have a care for dating the foreign guys. What happens is probably around 90% of foreign guys in Estonia from all countries are single or almost single. And when I say almost single, I mean maybe a few here and there have short-term flings, but most are single by far and large. There's a small percentage that have LTR, long-term relationships, or marriages, and these are small. Now, for example, the guys that I know personally that have marriages or that I know of typically met their wives in their home countries. They did not meet their spouses here in Estonia. The guys that live in Estonia, most of them came here, of course, for study purposes, work purposes, and those are the main two, or for both. So it's important to understand many guys, or most guys, did not come here for the dating or marriage. They came here for very valid and solid reasons. Many men, though, when they arrive here, like myself, they realize just the obstacles and the difficulty of dating, and it just seemingly becomes impossible. It's not realistic. There's guys of many different backgrounds and spectrums, and they just realize it's not possible, and it's often also not worth it, because it's just there's a lot of obstacles even with pursuing a partnership here, and they often do resort to this MGTOW lifestyle. And as I said before, they may not be aware that they're following MGTOW. They're simply they're living this lifestyle, maybe not unbeknownst to them, because there are many men that do follow the MGTOW lifestyle that are not aware of this, and it's not a big deal, honestly. Whether you're aware of it or not, it's totally fine. They're living here, they're pursuing their goals, they're striving for excellence in what they're doing, because it's also important to understand that many foreign men that live in Estonia will not live here for more than 2 to 5 years. Many guys will be in Estonia as more of a transitory country, a transition country. There's many men that come from African countries, from Asian countries, that are trying to economically advance and possibly go to other European countries or North America or Australia. There's a lot of different areas that guys are focusing on here. And for this reason, they won't be here long term. In that sense, also, it makes sense that they're not pursuing the relationship scene here, or they're not pursuing it seriously. As each year goes by, Estonia is just it's not a great place for pursuing a long-term relationship. Even for Estonian guys, I think there's a lot of changes to come in the next 10 years. That's kind of my perspective. Maybe I'm incorrect on this, but this is kind of what I foresee. It's kind of the reality. I could actually see MGTOW becoming the dominant force in 10 years in Estonia, because I can see right now Generation Z is in their, many of Generation Z now are in their late teens to early 20s, and I see how the dating has affected them, how it's impacted them. And it's very similar in some ways to what I see in my country, in America, to the level of disinterest and just dissatisfaction from men that are in this environment. And it's also important to note that many of these younger men here are not raised by solid male figures, so it makes it very hard for them to fill this role, to kind of lead the next generation. And now, on the other hand, when we look at MGTOW amongst foreign men, it's also, I think, in the future will continue to become a dominant force. And the reason I say this is because I can look at current trajectory. Often it's best to look at the patterns of where society is, and I can look at where Estonia is presently and where the US was and how it got to the next phase. And I can look at Estonia in the same manner. Also understand that MGTOW is not a movement that people have to pursue long term. There's men that pursue a MGTOW lifestyle for 5-10 years, sometimes 2 years. Sometimes it's not real long. And eventually they reach a point where they're ready to pursue a different phase or a different style of life. This is important to understand, that this is a manner, a style of living. There's many guys, many prominent MGTOW spokespeople that have actually switched over. They've kind of eased out of this phase. And so it can serve a man very well if they're trying to build something and trying to create and dedicate their life pursuits to a goal. And also note guys like Nikola Tesla or the Wright brothers, who helped pioneer the era of aviation, these were very prominent guys that essentially followed the MGTOW movement. And at the time, these guys didn't know what MGTOW was. They didn't even, they had never heard of this movement, but one could say that they pursued this lifestyle. There's been very, very prominent, admirable men that have gone this way and that have brought so much innovation and comforts to our lives today. And it's not to say perhaps right now there's guys that are living this MGTOW lifestyle, perhaps in Estonia, that are discovering or will discover or develop new technology or new innovation that will propel us into the next era. It would be logical that Estonia would be a country of MGTOW in 10 years by the fact that Estonia has been a country that's recently built its reputation off innovation, all things digital, and technology, and it's been a very modern society. So this is very understandable why Estonia would go in this direction, but amongst men. Now, if this happens, remains to be seen. It's difficult to predict patterns, and I think also it depends on how other countries, like Western countries, and how they evolve and progress, because it's less likely that if these countries don't exhibit the level of influence that they exhibit now, that this pattern will continue as prolifically as it is now. It may not. It's difficult to foresee at the moment, but in any case, it serves a purpose, and it's provided a lifestyle that men have used and have propelled their lives. And I have family members and friends that have pursued this lifestyle for some time or even permanently, and they've accomplished amazing things in their life. These are just some thoughts on this growing movement and what I see coming in the near future to Estonia. Please leave your comments below, and thank you.